Is it better now? Can you hear me now? On Facebook and on YouTube. I will wait for replies before I continue. Can you hear me on Facebook and on YouTube? Someone said it's not audible on YouTube. I hope they are hearing me now because I can also see the bar moving here. Good, good. Thank you, Adam Sheath. So, like I said, we are discussing emotions today, right? And I said emotion is a very popular topic. It's something that every one of us have. And even psychologists are telling us that we use our emotional brain more than we use our thinking brain. So our actions, our behaviors are driven by our emotions. So we are emotional people. And that's why I said in some of our previous sessions that don't believe anyone that tells you to not be emotional, right? When people are having important discussions, they will tell you, don't be emotional about this topic, don't be sentimental and all of that. So I said you can't not be emotional because you are emotional person. You are driven by your emotion. But what you want to do is to be able to understand your emotion, manage it, and put it to use. Because every crucial conversation, every crucial communication that you are having, right? Emotions determine the success and its effectiveness, right? So emotions are one of the key variables or key constructs that determine communication environment or communication atmosphere, right? So if the emotions around the people having this crucial conversation is not positive, it is most likely that the outcome of that conversation will not be positive as well. So for anybody that is into business, you are holding a leadership position, you are a teacher, you are a parent, you are in the position of influencing people. One of the things that you want to pay attention to is your emotion, understanding what your emotion is all about around the topic that you are having, right? So that's, I think with that I'm able to explain why emotions and having emotional intelligence is important, because like I said in our last week session, educational systems, we are being trained in schools with cognitive intelligence. We are trained to improve our cognitive intelligence, thinking, and all of that. But little is often said about emotional intelligence. How do you feel? Right? So that's what we are going to be talking about today. So basically, I'm going to be telling you about 5 qualities of how to approach emotional intelligence, how to be smart about your feeling. Because if you do, you will be able to avoid conflict, right? You will also be, because one thing is to avoid conflict, yeah, problem, like we say. The other thing is to be able, sometimes you can't avoid it, right? Sometimes you can't really run away from conflict because it just come to you out of the blue. You never intended for any misunderstanding. You never intended for conflict, but it's just there. It happens. It happens in business. It happens at home within family members. It happens at work, right? So how do you, if you are not a person that understands emotions, how do you manage situations and you are able to get positive outcome, from conflict, and also maintain relationship? Because some people are saying that conflict is one of the positive, positive outcome of differences in life that we have in life, because we think differently. We are naturally different by how God has created us, by how Allah has created us. He created us with differences. And with these differences comes energy, right? This energy can also be emotions, right? So, but if we are able to manage this energy, it leads to innovation, creativity. The fact that I see things differently from how you see it, the fact that I speak different language from what you are speaking, the fact that I process things differently, right? That's some energy there. Now, if you are able to respect these differences, we can be able to expand our knowledge, our connection, our relationship, right? From one language to two languages. That's why you see books are being interpreted or translated to different languages, right? You see somebody invented a theory or a concept, and over the line you see people adding to it because they have seen or live in a new era. So now it should be expanded. So with differences comes some with energy, and if this energy and emotions are well managed, right, it leads to creativity and innovation. But if it's not well managed, it often lead to destruction and crisis. Okay, so it shouldn't be that because we are different in opinion, in our approach, then every time it has to lead to crisis. If we understand ourselves, if we can manage our emotions, then we can put it to use positively. Because your emotions, right? Let me first of all describe some of the most popular emotion. If we are talking about emotion, we are talking about anger. Anger is a popular emotion that people usually regret when they have it, right? It's one of the most common emotions that people want to do away with. Anxiety is another one. So let's ask ourselves, where does anger come from? What usually makes you angry? Anger usually comes from the gap or the space between expectations and reality, right? So just look back to the last time you were angry. You expected something or someone to do or to be in a particular way, but your expectation was not met. You are often get into anger. So now we understand the source of anger, right? So overcoming anger is as good as managing your expectation, right? Knowing that this person or this thing that I'm expecting perfect or no mistake, I'm expecting infallibility from, can actually make mistake. If we can manage the source of anger, then the outcome is taken away, right? What about anxiety? Anxiety is another popular emotion or negative emotion, I should say. Something that when you have it, it can hold you down. And anxiety comes from your own assumption, right? From the future, how you are reading the future. So something is going to happen tomorrow, and you are not sure if it's going to go well or not. You are not sure if your future is going to be good or bad, right? You are not sure if you are going to pass an exam or not. So you are not sure if you are good enough. So anxiety will set in. Managing anxiety is as good as managing what you are telling yourself about the future, right? In communication, especially interpersonal communication, people, Shamsuddin Ajalaruru, as usual, Shamsuddin is a usual culprit, I should say. Thank you for always being here. Muhyiddin Maruf, thank you for your comment. Thank you all from Facebook. I encourage you to help us share it. Let it go wide to many people. Thank you guys from Instagram. So I was saying, I'm describing type of emotions, right? And how we can basically understand where they are coming from. If we know where they are coming from, we can easily manage them. Because when we say some of these things, that emotional intelligence, people might think, oh, this is too far-fetched. What do you mean by controlling your emotion? And I'm sure a lot of you here listening to me right now would have heard or said something like, I can't control my emotion. And what I'm here to tell you today is that it does not say a lot about your intelligence when you say, I can't control my emotion, because we are driven by our emotions. Our emotion impacts and drive outcome from everything we do, right? No matter how good is that thing that you are doing, if your emotion is not in line, okay, with what you are doing, let's say you are doing something good, like right now, probably I am giving a lecture, right? I am explaining some stuff, and I have a wrong emotion towards this. There's no way you are able to stand me. And I'm preaching, for example, I'm doing a religious Islamic lecture, for example, which is a very good thing. And in my emotion towards it is not in line with what I'm teaching or what I'm preaching, definitely the outcome will be bad. So that's another reason why you want to be able to manage, understand, first of all, Secondly, manage and put your emotion into good use. So, and I was explaining different types of emotion, the popular ones. I said anger. Anger is a popular emotion that people usually have and usually regret having it, right? So I said anger usually comes from the gap between the inconsistency or the disparity between reality and expectations, right? Expectation will come first. And so we are judging the reality based on of our expectation. We expectation can also be value. We all have value, our value that we create from probably our background, our religion, our culture. These things influence our values, and we judge reality based on our values, right? So now we are in a situation where the reality does not support our value, right? So that's expectation there. And then the reality does not support it. We quickly get into anger. It's a natural thing. So what I'm saying, to be able to control anger is to be able to control your expectation. So basically understanding that because I have this value doesn't mean that people should also have the value. If I understand that, then I'm not quick to be angry. Or let's say, okay, let's go back to value. I don't want to be too philosophical here. Don't forget, we are on easy research talk, so everything has to be easy. Uh, Value can be, terminal value or instrumental value. Terminal value, sometimes they call it like ends, like your goal, what you want to achieve. Now you have a value of I want to become rich, I want to be successful, I want to go to Jannah, I want to, do this and do that. And then to achieve that, you have some value of getting there, right? Those are instrumental value, the value that gets you to your ends, the means and ends, right? Now, sometimes we might find ourselves in a situation where the reality is not in line with our terminal value, which is the biggest thing, the big thing. But hey, can I adjust my instrumental value? Okay, so far this does not uh, uh, destroy my terminal value, which is my big goal in life. I will come back to that, but just let me continue explaining sources of emotions and how you can put them to check. So I've talked about anger. Another thing that we should also talk about is anxiety. And I said anxiety is based on your own assumption of the future. So basically, in interpersonal communication, there are two different types of internal monologue that we always have with ourselves, right? There's what they call egocentric speech. This is when you are having uncoordinated conversations with yourself about, sometimes I like this word fantasy. I talk about fantasy in our previous session as well. Sometimes you are fantasizing, you see yourself above the world, you see yourself having this and that. This kind of conversation that you have in your head, especially fantasy, they said is a sign of cognitive immaturity, right? When the conversations you are having in your head does not fit your situation or your actions. I'm not saying that you should not be hopeful or you should not be positive or be optimistic, but be optimistic, be hopeful in line with the actions that you are putting in, right? So the second type of internal conversations that we normally have with ourselves is the self dialogue. This time around, you are judging yourself. Like football commentaries. Like how football, the people that comment in football, they judge every pass, they judge every dribbling, they judge every players. They talk about them. Just that the difference between that and you is that the players can't hear, but here you are the one commentating about your own actions, right? But you can hear, you are listening to yourself. So you can either be positive or be negative in your own self dialogue as you talk to yourself, and this affects your assumptions to reality or the future. Now, so what we generally do when we are having this dialogue is that sometimes it leads us to generalization. So we generalize the fact that, oh, I already failed two times. That means I will fail the next time, something like that. Or you can generalize situation because this guy saw me yesterday, he didn't greet me well. he will not greet me again tomorrow. That's how he does things like that. You know, uh, this kind of generalization, because somebody do something to us once, it might be a mistake, but in your own dialogue you talk to yourself that you overgeneralize it, that this is what he is, or this is who this person is, right? That's one negative way of accessing reality, and you do that in your head. Number two is we overgeneralize, and sometimes self-blame. We blame ourselves. It's my fault. We give ourselves fault when we are thinking or talking to ourselves in our head. These are things that we do, right? So, and this of course will create anxiety, especially if it's something that we are not so sure about. It's not something that is a routine for us, right? So when this happens, we are anxious. And to be able to control that is to be able to control what you are telling yourself. So it's as easy as that. Instead of you thinking that, this is difficult, I definitely can't do this, you can be telling yourself, how can I do it? People that are doing research about subconscious mind, it tells you that when you tell yourself positive things, whatever you tell yourself will happen to you. And even in management, in management classes, they will tell you that there are two different types of managers. There are X managers and Y managers. So X managers are managers that approach employees, or they approach people they work with the negative assumption. These people will believe that, even teachers do that. Sometimes there are teachers that will believe students, they will always misbehave. This kind of thing. Oh, students, no student is ready to learn these days. So these people, you will have negative assumptions towards the people that they are working with, and this will affect the way they will treat them. And at the end of the day, it will, because you have treated them badly, then students or employees will also, reply negatively, right? That's what ex managers or ex teachers do. But why managers? These are people that approach with positive assumption. They know that everyone is self-motivated. People don't have reasons to be lazy, something like that. And if it happened that they are lazy, there must be a reason. Let's discover the reason together. Let's work together on how to overcome whatever problem they discover. So that's the two difference. And you do that to yourself as well. So, and I'm encouraging you today to be a wise manager to yourself. Talk positively to yourself in your inner dialogue. Tell yourself that, instead of telling yourself that this is a bad situation, tell yourself, how can you overcome the situation? Look for solution. If you do that, you control your anxiety. Now you are focused on getting solution or preparing for the future, rather than being scared or being anxious for the future. And that type of emotion that people don't, that usually is a negative emotion, is sadness. And sadness is as a result of disappointment, which, like you can say, is an outcome of anger. Sometimes when you're angry, it might lead to sadness, right? Because anger can it's the first stage of disappointment. When something happened, you might be disappointed, and if it's someone or something that you really show your anger, it might lead to sadness. You become sad. So again, controlling your expectation is as good as controlling your sadness. And also, you want to understand that there are ways of managing sadness. It might mean to distract yourself from that feeling or not dwell on it. So being able to go out of sadness, because you can't do well in anything you are doing if you are sad. That's the reality, right? If you can't do really well in anything you are doing whenever you are sad. And that's why you don't want to dwell on emotions like anxiety, emotions like anger, emotions like sadness, and even happiness. You can be vulnerable when you are happy, right? So it's not every time that you want to be happy. You want to be happy when you really want to be happy. And that's what I'm here to talk about. So sometimes, of course, it's good to be happy, right? It's good to be a happy person. But there are situations where, you can't go to a burial and be happy just because you can't control your emotion. They will throw you out, isn't it? So that's another good reason or good example why we want to be able to put our emotion in check. So, and what are the solutions to all these problems that have been listing. Number one is that you want to be able to understand your emotion. And I've talked a lot about understanding emotion. I've talked a lot about not just focusing on your cognitive intelligence, because whenever we mention intelligence, it is easy for us to think of cognitive ability, developing your memory, developing your learning ability, and be able to remember whatever you learn. All those things are good, but I'm saying in addition to that, you want to be able to understand how are you feeling, about whatever you are doing, because we are all driven by our emotions. And go into a conversation knowing what you feel and how to be able to say what you feel. It will usually help you to get out of any kind of crisis. Sometimes there are some conversation that you are not just well disposed to have it. If you know how you feel about this topic, if you feel vulnerable about the topic and you understand that you are vulnerable about it, you want to ask for excuse to postpone the conversation. So you don't want to shame yourself. There's no need to go verbally or physically violent, because you are feeling unsafe about a topic. Ask for excuse to postpone it, right? And even if you can't ask for the excuse, if it's something that is the power between the power dynamic between the person that you are having the conversation is not balanced, that you can ask for an excuse. So you want to be able to probably distract yourself, take yourself out of the situation, because you can't ask for excuse. I mean, some of us can be in that situation, but if you can ask, don't have the conversation when you are not in the right mind to have it. So, or another thing that you can do is, some of us, like myself, I have to admit, sometimes I approach argument as some of like cognitive, sparring. It's something that I do for fun sometimes. I like, but despite that, it's not every topic that I want to argue with, or it's not everyone that I want to argue with, and it's not everybody that understand argument as a cognitive exercise. Some people are just not trained to understand that, they don't have that argumentative training to maintain discourse. Now if I ever meet people like that, or let's say I'm going to have a visitor where, thank you, somebody say more for whom. So I'm going to have a visitor, or I'm going to meet somebody that I don't want to argue with. So one thing you can do is to have communicator communication monitor. I said communication monitor. Somebody that can monitor your communication. It can be your wife, it can be your friend, it can be somebody you trust, and tell the person to give you a signal, especially for those of us or some people that do public communication, public speech, public speaking. You don't want to approach audience without having a monitor in the audience. Look for somebody to monitor you. If I am derailing from point, ask the person, especially women. The women are very good at this kind of thing because they have hijab on them. They can always adjust their hijab. So when your wife is adjusting her hijab, she's signaling to you that you are going offline. And if that happens, you will control yourself, right? So that's another way of doing it. So instead of leaving yourself to delay, because sometimes it's not just about knowing your emotion at the beginning. See, emotions, like I said at the beginning, are like weather, you know, on a ceremony or in a ceremony day. Let's say you plan for a party. You can't really determine what the weather will be, even if you forecast it, right? Sometimes it might look like, hey, it's a cloudy weather, it's going to be raining, and something will happen, it's all shining and bright, right? Emotions can be like that. You might start a conversation feeling happy, feeling upright and ready to have it. And something will go out of the communication routine, and then there you go, a wrong or negative emotion will be switched on. So when that happens, you want to be able to continually being aware that, okay, it's getting to where I don't like now. The emotion is going offline. I'm feeling in a way that I can't continue this conversation. So you want to excuse yourself. And like I said, you want to have a monitor, somebody that can control your outburst. The hijab adjustment reference, though. Yeah, exactly. It's something that works for me. if you ever find yourself, somebody is saying in on Facebook that the hijab adjustment comment is probably funny. Yeah, it's funny for to me too, but it's very effective. I can promise you that. If you are a man and you don't want to get in trouble in the public, you may use your wife as your communication monitor. Tell her to monitor you. Tell her what you don't want to talk about. And sometimes you can't be sure, or you want to cry, or let's say, hello, Dr. Sayed Nuruddin on Facebook. How are you? Long time. So you don't want to go into this area. You don't want to feel time. When you tell your wife, when they know that you are on the way there, they will adjust their hijab in a way that that you will know that okay, something is going on here. You will control yourself, right? So you don't want to just leave yourself out there. It's not something that sometimes we are capable of doing by ourselves. That's what I'm saying. And you can use your friend as well. And you can, but just don't use these three type of people in communication. When you want to be effective, be careful of not, talking or seeking advice from three people. Number one, the silent people. People that will not say anything, they are just waiting for your mistake. So when you bring something up to them, like you are seeking for their suggestion, they are not actually going to tell you anything. They will wait for you to make mistake. They are expecting you to make mistake, and they will be like, "Didn't I tell you?" And you can't actually remember them saying something against what you are about to do. So the silent people are not good people to use as your communication monitor, right? I am not saying that they are not sincere, but maybe their approach is just to wait for outcome before they call your attention. Number two is the opportunistic people. So these people, they are waiting for people to hail you. They will hail you based on what people are saying, right? And then they will disagree on your opinion based on what people are saying. They are not, they don't have the intuition to say, this is what it is based on their own opinion, right? So those kind of people are not people that you want to use as your monitor. And the third type of people are the naysayers. Every one of us, we have naysayers around us, people that only see negativity. On whatever you tell them, the only comment they will see or they will emphasize on is negative comment about what you are doing. Right? If you tell them, I want to start a business, they will laugh. First of all, they will laugh. Somebody like you want to start a business. So be careful. Don't use those kind of people as your monitor, right? Your public communication monitor. It's dangerous for you, right? Because they are naysayers. They only see negativity, right? So the fourth people that you want to talk to be able to get effective monitoring, right, are those people that do upward or positive conditioning, or sometimes we call it constructive criticism, positive constructive feedback. And how do we do positive constructive feedback? We do it in a sandwich way. We all know what sandwich is. It's like, if you don't know, especially from, I don't think we have sandwich in Nigeria. It's not a traditional staple for us, but we eat bread and akara. You know how sometimes you want to eat bread and akara, you slice it into two, put akara in the middle, bread in the bottom, and bread on top, right? So I'm using the bread to represent negative, I'm using the present positive comment, right? So usually they start from encouragement, word of encouragement, something that you have done that is good, right? So the akara will be the negative comment, where they will give you painful, hurtful comment in an encouraging way, right? They will on the behavior, not on personality, and then they will end it with word of encouragement. That's how to give positive, constructive criticism. Or in another way, sometimes we say upward or positive conditioning. These are people that they tell you what they expect in you, even if you are not doing it yet. And this work a lot on children. So sometimes if I tell people that don't beat children because it doesn't help them, one good thing that you can do to get children in line is to give them upward or positive conditioning. Tell them what you expect from them. Or, for example, you expect your children to be responsible. Why not thank him like, oh, uh, my son, I don't know what what I will be able to do without you. You know, if a child hear that, like my father is relying on me, it, it will, encourage him or her that now I am somebody that my father rely on. So you are basically, conditioning them for that positive outcome, right? So if you are in a position of influence as well, you can also use this approach to give feedback, right? So that's what number one, basically, the first thing is understanding your feeling. And I think I'm nearly overbeating that point. Number 2 point, qualities that you should have if you want to be able to, be intelligent emotionally, right? The number 2 point is to be open to discovery about your feeling. And I think it's linked to what I just explained. Having the ability, the confidence to talk to people, right? Like we say in research, in academic research, there's something we call response bias, right? So response bias is when you are asking for when you are surveying the wrong people. Let's say my research topic is about maybe I want to understand an African culture, and I decided to ask people that are not Africans. I'm surveying people that are not Africans. So we call that response bias, right? El Daru, how do I pronounce this? El Daru Margarita Lizzie said, African parents left the chat. They can't relate to the don't beat approach. Yes, but if they can, it's helpful. You know, upward conditioning help more than beating children, right? Because beating can brutalize physically and emotionally, right? So we can have that discussion later, like a whole discussion around positive discipline. How can you discipline people positively? I'm not saying don't discipline, but there are better ways of discipline than beating, right? So I was talking about response bias, being able to get the right response or feedback about who you are from the right people. Okay, that's basically what I'm saying. You have a limited ability to know who you are yourself, because you can not really answer the question of what people think about you. As I'm giving this particular session right now, I can't determine what you guys feel about asking you. So the second quality of an emotionally intelligent person is to be able to seek for feedback, concrete positive feedback from people. You can't be the one that determine your own reputation. And that's why I said, if you're asking yourself what people think about you or think about what you are doing, how people relate with you, you are conducting a research with response bias, because you're asking yourself about yourself. You cannot get an accurate answer. So as you know about yourself, to really be able to understand who you are or a feedback from what you are doing, ask people. Ask Have one or two or three people in your life that you ask them about feedback on what you are doing. If you really want to be intelligent and get to where you are going, if you want to be able to achieve the success that you set out to achieve, you should be able to get feedback from the right people. Feedback sometimes can be hurtful, can be painful, but if you can control yourself to listen to it, to get to it, to understand it, it helps you to get ahead in life. Like I always say, in the academics, one of the things that we enjoy so much is the reviews that we get when you write papers, when you publish paper in the academics and you publish them. Somebody that doesn't that never see you before, doesn't know your name, will comment, and they tend to comment objectively. They will give you comment about what you do wrong, or what sometimes you think is right but is not right. And some people are not intelligent enough. Just because of those comments, some people would you know just leave that process out. They don't want to publish because they don't want to get harsh comment. But I'm telling you, if you are the type that can withstand harsh comment, harsh feedback, constructive ones though, don't forget what I said about these people that you can get feedback from. If you are getting your feedback from, you know, from upward conditioners, people that think positively, that if you can withstand harsh comment, you can easily better. in whatever you are doing. So I mean, sometimes I see people, and I don't want to stereotype. Women usually say, "Hey, do you? I'm doing me." There's nothing like doing you. You can't do you and be successful, because you can't live this life alone. Don't stop saying "do you." I'm doing you. Do you? I do me. What is that? Do whatever you are doing. Ask for feedback from people. Let people give you feedback so that you know what you will get, where to get better. How to get better at what you are doing, right? So that's what we are. I think that's second quality, right? The first one we said it's about being open to understanding who you are, knowing how you feel, knowing the source of your feeling, knowing the topics that get you off, that zones you out. There are topics that you don't want to have, you know. Especially there's something that we call communication script. Communication script are routine communication that we have with people that, like, if you're in a specific situation or specific conversation with people that you often talk to, we tend to enter a routine or a script. So our communication with people that we often talk to, we usually end up the same way because we kind of have that routine of talking to them. So if this person or you and the person that you are talking to usually have a negative routine, it's most likely that every time you talk, it leads into anger. I hope you understand what I mean by that. So there are people that every time, have you noticed that there are people that every time you talk to them, it usually ends into like fighting or anger, something like that, right? So it will continue to be so if you guys don't step back and understand why is it so. Because you are leaving yourself to your emotions, right? You are leaving yourself to be driven by your emotion. Because I expect that he or she will say a stupid comment, and then I have prepared a stupid comment for him or her, right? So these kind of things happen. Number three, I've said about discovery about yourself, and I've talked about, okay. Number three, you should be able to open for insight from others, and I think I discussed about that. Every successful people have people they talk to, they get feedback from. The other day, I was watching Mark Zuckerberg, the owner of Facebook that we are all using, and he was talking about how he would listen to people that probably criticizing Facebook or criticizing Instagram or whatever he's doing. And some of the improvements that we see and enjoy on Facebook actually come from people on the street, not engineers, not people that he is paying to improve the company, but people that are actually criticizing him on the street. So he said he's a kind of person that when he's driving and he see people saying, yeah, yeah, he will wind down and talk to them. So if you can do that, if you can listen to advice and feedback from people, you have a long way to go. Whatever situation you find yourself, listen. Don't judge your own reputation. We talk about that. So number four is being open to awareness and doing something about it. Right? It's not just about knowing your feeling. It's about doing something about it. Right? You see, there is a research that was done about relationship. So they suggested that perfect relationship is based on caring, right? So everyone is looking for caring in their relationship. But the problem is not everybody understand what is caring. No, not all of us understand caring. Caring sometimes, especially to women, we might mean, oh, it's for somebody to buy you something. And it's not just all about that. Caring is about being aware of the serious issues and having the initiative to do something about it. So just knowing about what puts your significant other, what puts him or her off, issues that they are sensitive about, their vulnerabilities, knowing all of that is not just enough, but knowing it and probably working towards correcting your mistakes in that area, something that somebody doesn't know, the joke or the banters that they are not comfortable about. Knowing that and still doing it will hurt them more. But if you know and intentionally not go there, right? You know their sensitivity and you protect it, That's how to be caring to anyone that we are in relationship with. Sometimes some people, they will say things that they can't actually accept by themselves, in the name of teaching them, correcting them, preaching to them. It never happened. It will never work, right? So you want to be able to put yourself in that person's shoes. You yourself know what you can take. So why are you comfortable to be able to do it to others? And that's what we do. Every one of us do that. So if you care about people, we want to be able to know their sensitivity. We want to know their vulnerability. We want to know their weaknesses and do something about protecting it, right? That's how to be to be caring. If you are in a relationship that you want to protect, right? Don't just say, I know my wife's weakness, and then you don't care about. You want to be able to protect that weakness, right? But those people that don't know even their own weakness, there are people like that in this conversation. There are people that don't know their own weakness, that don't know their own vulnerability, right? And then it's difficult for people that relate with them to protect their vulnerability because even themselves don't know it and they can't admit to it. There are people that whenever you mention a topic, they burst into tears. It's easy for them to say it's a sensitive topic for me. If you know that and you are able to tell people that you are talking to, it's easy for them to protect you. But if you say, no, I'm just crying, it's nothing. What is nothing? It's sensitive. Admit that I am sensitive about this topic. So allow people to protect you, right? So, and you can see another reason why emotional intelligence is important, right? Or there are things that it doesn't come to you naturally. If you admit to it, then you take action about, overcoming that weakness, talking to people about it, right? So the very first thing is know it and take action about overcoming it. What do I mean? Know the wrong emotions that you always have. Know topics that always get you into, that always push you off control, right? In fact, know the mood that gets you into that situation. Sometimes, like if you are shouting, you can easily get into, you can easily become angry, right? Or you can easily go out of control. So if you know that, all you want to do is to remember not to shout when you are talking to people, because when you shout, you can easily fall into anger, right? So knowing it and doing something, remind yourself. Don't forget what I said at the beginning. Being originally aware and continually aware of your emotions and taking action to it. And finally, the final point that I want to point to as the qualities of emotionally intelligent people is taking it slowly, right? You want to take it slowly because it's not easy to manage oneself. Right? Self-management is a lifelong process. So you have to be able to take it easy on yourself. All you want to do, in fact, experts are saying that there are 4 ways to do this. Number one is self-awareness, knowing the problem, and number two is to be in present. Right? Don't overthink about the problem. Be in the be mindful, right? Be present at every conversation you are having. Be present. Don't off your mind off, and then do something about it slowly. And then lastly, you want to understand the range of behavior that you can choose from. You want to be able to say, okay, I'm feeling angry right now. Is there any other things that I can do not to be angry? Can I distract my anger? We want to be able to identify something that take that emotion away from you. Discover yourself to that level. How can you, if you are angry, how can I distract my anger? If you are happy, how can you put yourself into control? If you're anxious, a good example is what I said about the public communication monitor, having somebody that control your public appearance, public presentation. And I think it's a very good one. When you have someone, if you have a sincere audience, they will pay so much attention to you and they are putting you into control, right? That's a good one, right? So be sure of taking the productive, route. Like Everyone will be angry when this is said to them, but maybe probably everybody that's angry will not be able to deliver their message. So look at what you determine your purpose of that conversation, of that communication, and be able to stay on track, regardless of how you are feeling. Because one of the problem we have with emotions is that everybody have it, but not everybody has it, but not everybody can explain or describe. People sometimes don't know how they feel. If you don't know how you feel, you can't describe it. If it You can't control the situation. You see, some of the crises that you find simple as telling talk, tone it down the way you are talking to me. Instead of saying me, I am the one you are talking like that. Of course, probably he doesn't see it the way you are receiving it. Just as simple like, I don't like what you said to me. As easy as that. Describe your emotion. Use the word I. That's how to that's how to describe emotions. Use I feel like I'm not comfortable having this conversation. I am not happy with the way you are talking to me. I am sensitive about this topic. When was the last time you said that in conversation? When was the last time? Let me hear from you guys. You will see that not everyone, a lot of people don't see reason why they should describe their emotions. Sometimes we feel shy about how we feel, and then we are angry that people are not respecting us. Thank you, Eldaroro, Margarita Lizzie, for sharing and inviting people to join us. So I encourage everyone on Facebook to share to as many as possible people, right? So today, let me summarize what we have been talking about. We're talking about qualities of emotionally intelligent people, and we started by describing what are emotions and why is important to understand emotions. We talk about the fact that emotions, we are 75% driven by our emotion. We use our emotional feeling brain more than we use our thinking brain. Not every time we think as human being, because we operate on autopilot. We use our subconscious mind more than we use conscious mind. If anybody drives, you know that when you're driving, especially when you know where you are going, you autopilot yourself, and that's what happened with everyone every day, right? That is possible because we develop communication script and communication routine. When you are talking to people that you always talk to, you operate subconsciously. Like, if you are my friend, you already know me. You are not paying too conscious mind, regardless of what I'm saying. You might be listening to me, but you know how and what our conversation is like. So your mind will be operating based on the data they have, right? So that's why it's possible to always be angry with people that last time we talked, we were angry with each other. You have to operate and tell your mind that, hey, let it go. So emotionally intelligent people would always be aware of what the feeling is like and come in to control it, to manage it, to make the best out of the situation. That was the first thing we talk about. Second one is discovering who you are, discovering the source of your emotions. We talk about where sadness comes from. We talk about where anxiety comes from. What you are telling yourself that cause your anxiety. Are you the type that gets scared and afraid about anything and everything? It is because of what you are telling yourself. And I gave you examples of what we tell ourselves and the kind of negative conversation we have and what it leads to. We self-blame ourselves, we overgeneralize, we rush into conclusion, right? Three things: overgeneralization, rushing into conclusion, and self-blaming. These are the kind of commentary that we run in our head. When you run this kind of commentary, good evening, MA Soul. Thank you for joining us on YouTube. When you run this kind of commentary in your head, there's no way, there's no how that it doesn't lead to anxiety, right? So to control anxiety is to understand, hey, what am I telling myself? For example, if I want to have this session and I'm scared about it, like I'm scared a lot of people will not come, right? I can be talking to myself internally, having that dialogue, self-dialogue in my head that, oh, people will not come to my live session. you know, people won't come. You see, that will make me anxious about the fact that people will not come. I can control this dialogue by saying, oh, how can I make people to come? How can I, broadcast this enough to people to come to my live session if it's what is important to me, right? So change that dialogue that you're having with your head. If you can change it, you can change your emotion. You can control your emotion. I also talk about anger. I said anger will come from the gap, the disparity between expectations and your reality. So if you tame your expectation, if you control your expectation, if you understand that people are not infallible. People will always make mistake, the communication part. Society made me believe as a woman, a man, somebody is saying on Facebook that society made me believe as a woman, a man who loves me must know how I feel by just looking at my face. Yeah, how dumb. When isn't working with x-rays, working on my communication skills and anger issue. Exactly, I love that. And that's why we put ourselves and the man in problem. We put man in trouble, especially women. We expect that men should know what we feel. When you yourself sometimes don't know how you are feeling, you can see how ironic that can be. So you want to be able to identify how you are feeling. Thank you for this comment. I like it. I like that input. When you know what you are feeling and how you are feeling, then you can be able to describe it. And then you can expect the other person to care for you because now you know what you are feeling and you are able to describe it accurately. You know, then you expect them and that out to be caring. Like we say in Yoruba language that there's difference between what we like and what is good. Somebody might give you something that is good and be offensive or you be offended by it. But if it's something that you like, it is very, very like it is impossible for you to be offended. So yet, yes, again, knowing how you feel, being able to describe it to people, right? And if those people care about you, they will protect you. They will understand you, they will manage you, right? They will accommodate you. That's what we are talking about here. So you are the one that you are causing problem in your marriage sometime. You are causing problem with your parents sometimes because you are not able to describe your emotion, right? So maybe sometimes the kind of training that we have, sometimes we are trained to just keep shut, my friend, shut up. This kind of feeling sometimes kills that ability to describe how you are feeling, right? That's why you want to let people express their opinion. Let them express their feeling, right? So that, you know, it helps you to manage it, to know how to reply to them. Why are you shutting people up? That's what I always wonder. Now you shut the person up and you want to talk and you expect the person to talk, to listen to you. It doesn't work that way, right? Let the person talk and then you can now say something on it or you can reply, right? So sometimes the training we receive as kids, especially coming from Africa, we kind of like, they shut us down too much that we don't know how to describe our emotions anymore. And it kills us because now we expect people to know what we feel, right? It doesn't happen that way. And like they say in communication also, that face is difficult to read, right? But hand and legs can be easily read because your leg and your hand, they are the most sincere part of your body, right? They show what you are feeling inside you. But the problem is hand and legs are not so visual. Not everybody can see it, right? They can see your face, but face can be deceitful. I can be happy and frown my face because I just don't feel like laughing. And sometimes I can be not so happy, but manage to put a smile on my face, right? But for example, when I'm nervous, it can easily be shown in my hand, or like all these police investigative people say that if somebody is lying, you tend to want to cover your nose or your eye. So that's how they know sometimes that someone is lying. So hand is very sincere. And I think Quran also talk about it that on the day of judgment, Allah is going to shut our mouth, right? On the day of judgment, our mouth will be shut and Allah is going to be talking to our hand and our leg. That is a very, for me, it's like, wow, that's a communication theory there. Because Allah is testifying to the fact that hand, He knows, of course, He's not testifying. Allah knows that hand is more sincere. Your hand can't lie. If you are lying, unknowingly to you, your hand will go to your mouth or your eye. You just want to cover, you want to save your face because you are lying. Or when you are nervous, you tend to shake your legs, right? You don't do it, you don't know how it happens, because hand and legs are very, very sincere. But your face can deceive people. You can look whatever you want to look like, right? So people can't read your face and know what you really feel, right? So that's my comment on that input. So uh, I'm basically summarizing and thanking everyone. Actually, before I bring it to an end, I have an announcement to make. I have been, challenged by some people saying that, why don't I do these sessions in Yoruba language? And right now, I think I'm in a limbo. I'm like, I don't know what to do. Should I continue in Yoruba? Because I actually have audience that are non-Yoruba users, non-Yoruba speakers, and of course, when the purpose behind this is to be able to reach a global audience, to be able to like help as much as possible people that we can help, because sometimes some of these skills can provide valuable solutions to our life problem, can get us ahead in life and things like that. And the problem is, it's not something that we can learn in class sometimes. It's not something that we easily go to school and learn, right? So if we actually want to do that benefit to people, we should be able to do it in a way that they can access, right, the benefit. So I'm going to put it out there. If you want me to do it in Yoruba, and what I'm thinking is probably pick another day where I will be doing the Yoruba version, right? So I may be doing today for English version, then the following day Yoruba version. But I will do that if I receive enough comments on Instagram, on Facebook. How are you, Ridwan from Poland? You see, that's another person. Not okay. Ridwan speaks Yoruba as well. But I doubt if he understands Yoruba enough to understand soft skills. Let's see. So I'm looking forward to your comment. If you are with me live now or you stumble upon the video, after the live session, let me know if you want it in Yoruba or you want me to continue in English. If you want Yoruba, just type Yoruba. And if I have enough comments, I'll definitely be picking another day that will be, doing the sessions, the topic in Yoruba. And that's probably going to be it today. Guys, don't forget to, you know, stick around. Definitely, inshallah, we'll be coming again next week with another important topic. And I feel next week we should talk about how we talk to ourselves. Maybe we can delve deep on that topic of how you are talking to yourself and how you can get the best out of yourself by having through the dialogue that you're having in your head, right? The assumptions that you are creating, how you are judging and judging your reality and environment and how it can affect your behavior. So let's see. That's going to be our next week. So, guys, any comments, any input, any suggestion before I put it to an end? It's been a very, for me, I enjoyed the session. I mean, I enjoyed the topic, and I hope every one of you will be taking something out of the session. Don't forget what I said. Emotional awareness. I want, okay, that's one comment. I will be looking forward to your comments. If I receive enough comments on I want it in Yoruba, I would definitely look. Look, I will find time to do it in Yoruba. A session where it's just going to be in Yoruba, okay? Because yeah, I want to be able to help as many as I can, right? Because what I'm doing here is I'm trying to give back, right? I'm trying to just give out the information. Like they say, information is king, right? So I was saying that self-awareness, don't forget, can also leave off discouragement. So whatever mistake, whatever shortcoming, whatever weakness that you find out in yourself after understanding who you are, it will bring about diversity. Okay, someone Liz is saying I should pick I should fix a date for the Yoruba version. I believe it will make more wave and bring about diversity. Okay. Anyway, Yoruba is tricky to explain because sometimes this is a class, isn't it? And Yoruba is not something that we study with, and it's not something that we used to learn. But there's so much wisdom in Yoruba, and I want to try it out. So let's see, maybe Saturdays we can do Saturdays. Weekends basically. We can do Fridays. I have two comments. Two people say they want it in Yoruba. I'll wait if I can get 10 people that says I want it in Yoruba. Even after the session, then I will be motivated. But I see you guys that commented. I notice it and I work on it. Okay, yeah. So that's going to be end of it for me. Thank you all for staying put. Thank you, Lizzie, for your comment, for your input, and everyone. Thank you, Muhyiddin Maruf, for your comment. MA Soul from YouTube, Adam Shees from YouTube, every one of you on Instagram for your input, Eminent Bunu. I appreciate you all and see you again next week. Goodbye from me.